way he shows up for my dog. I am eternally grateful to be loved like that.
So I saw this video the other day and it reminded me of something I've been thinking about a lot lately. So I just really want to talk about it. So this video, you should check it out. It's really sweet. It almost made me cry because Coda has his own medical issues too. But so basically in the video, she's talking about how she has a medically complex dog and she was bringing home, a new boyfriend at the time and just kind of making a accolade to how well he's been helping her and her dog through, some of their more scary situations that they've had lately. And she kind of touched on a subject that I think we should really talk about and delve into a little bit. So at one point, she kind of talks about how when her dog is at the vet and he's sick, he's not doing well, she's overwhelmed, and she talks about some of the planning. She mentions that he did some planning around, taking care of her, taking care of him, making sure everybody's good. And that's the part I want to talk more about because it's so underappreciated in our society. Because I saw that video and I was like, yes, that's mental load. Yes. There's so many people that talk these days in terms of relationships, human relationships, and mental load in terms of, supporting your own house, supporting your kids. But people really don't talk that much about how that applies when you have a dog because a lot of dogs, they have needs. Especially a lot of dogs that were bred for a purpose, they have more needs than other dogs are going to have. And there's an underlying mental load to that people don't talk about. And it can be very comparable to having kids in a lot of ways. Because who's the one that's working on feeding the dog, making sure they have their medications? I mean, in this video, she's talking about how her dog has, I think she said 14 or 15 medications that he's on for his seizures and other comorbidities. And, there's mental load with that. You have to keep track of those things. You have to make sure that you're giving the right medications, you're giving the right food, you're giving the right amounts, on the right frequency, on the right day, because some medications are, only very day specific. It's not every single day at the same time. And it just goes so underappreciated. Just the amount of effort that goes into that, keeping track of who's the veterinarian? When do you have to go to the veterinarian? How often? What medical issues do you need to talk about? What vaccines do they need? How often do they need those vaccines? Especially if they're a puppy and they need them more often. They get their boosters kind of like we have our Hep B vaccines. They're set a certain amount of time apart. You have to keep track of that. Who's taking track of that? Especially if it's a two-person household. So that just made me really happy that she has someone to support her, but we should talk about that more. We should talk about the mental load that comes with having a dog. And it should be more normal. I think that would make it a lot more normal for people to train their dogs routinely. Because we all know that there's a huge, almost an epidemic of people that don't want to or don't think that they need to train their dogs. And that kind of starts with a societal change, a need for more normal standards, because we tend to fit our dogs in a box. And, we set them on this pedestal that we wouldn't necessarily set other animals to. We expect higher things from them just because we can interact with them more. But there's a lot of mental load that comes with that. Even with dog training, there's a lot of mental load. You have to think about the dog's behavior. You have to think about their emotions. You have to think about your own emotions, especially when you have a reactive dog. You have to manage yourself first to be able to manage your dog. And there's just so many things that get tied into this. And so I just really wanted to bring that up because she hinted at it. I just don't think she necessarily thought about the actual context and the terminology that goes into that. But it's so important. But let me know what you guys think, because I certainly felt personally obligated to talk about it. I feel this all the time taking care of Coda. So what do you guys think?